I find his lack of balance disturbing.
It's all that data, bro. With SLT mega deals, he's got double data for the next 2 months.
Making headlines on First at 9. Who got what? Duties and functions of cabinet and non-cabinet ministers gazetted. Cut down in Prime. Elevator collapses at a Colombo nightclub, killing a ruggerite. Back to normal. Floods ease in the north, but the numbers of people affected by inclement weather rise.
They are doing normal activities in their house.
Constitution kickstart. TNA MP Sumandiran heralds that a draft constitution will be brought before next year's Day of Independence.
මේ උත්සව සමයේ ස්මාර්ට් ඇන්ඩ්‍රොයිඩ් තාක්ෂණයෙන් එන සිංගර් විස්ටා TV එකක් මිලදී ගන්නා ඔබට හිත පිරෙන්න වාසි රැසක් ඕනෑම සිංගර් ප්‍රදර්ශනාගාරයකින්.
A very good evening and welcome to First at 9, another Derana 24/7 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. The extraordinary Gazette notifications on duties and functions of the cabinet ministers and non-cabinet ministers was issued last midnight. Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering and Telecommunications Regulatory Commission do not fall under the purview of the gazetted ministries and therefore will rest with the President. The Police Department and the State Intelligence Service, which falls under the Ministry of Defence, will also be retained by the Head of State.
According to the extraordinary Gazette notification issued last midnight, 21 institutions that fall under the Ministry of Defence, which include the Tri-Forces, Police Department, State Intelligence Service, National Media Centre and the Department of Government Information, will fall under the purview of President Maithripala Sirisena. Furthermore, the President will oversee 22 institutions which fall under the Ministry of Mahaweli Development and Environment. These include projects such as the Morugahakanda Reservoir and the River Kalu Dam project. Meanwhile, a total of 24 institutions, including the Department of National Planning, come under the purview of the Ministry of National Policies, Economic Affairs, Resettlement and Rehabilitation, Northern Province Development, Vocational Training and Skills Development and Youth Affairs, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. The National Youth Service Council, the Vocational Training Authority and the Colleges of Vocational Technology, the Department of Census and Statistics and Sri Lanka Institute of Printing are also included under the ministries held by the Prime Minister. According to the Gazette, a total of 48 institutions are listed under the Minister of Finance and Mass Media. Institutions include the Treasury, Central Bank, National Development Lotteries Board, Insurance Corporation, Litrogas Company, Radio and Television Corporation, Lake House and the Independent Television Network are listed under the Ministry of Finance and Mass Media. The Department of Trade and Investment, Sri Lanka Customs as well as state-run banks also fall under the purview of the ministry. Furthermore, institutions which fall under the Ministry of Power and Energy, which include the Ceylon Electricity Board, Lanka Electricity Company and Lanka Coal Company, will be held by Minister Ravi Karunanayake. However, no institutions have been gazetted under the Ministry of Business Development, which is also held by the minister. In addition, institutions held by other cabinet of ministers have been duly mentioned in the Gazette. Government institutions held by 3 non-cabinet ministers were also gazetted last midnight. Minister of Science, Technology and Research Sujiva Senasinghe will be in charge of 19 state institutions, which include the National Science Foundation of Sri Lanka. Furthermore, Minister of Public Distribution and Economic Reforms, Dr. Harsha De Silva, will oversee the Institute of Policy Studies as per the Gazette notification. As Sri Lankan Airlines, Sri Lankan Catering and Telecommunications Regulatory Commission do not fall under the purview of the gazetted ministries, the relevant responsibility will be vested with the President.
Now, tragedy struck in a prominent nightclub located at the heart of Colombo during early hours of this morning as an elevator plummeted to the basement of the building, killing 25-year-old ruggerite Kokir Samanda Peruma and injuring 2 others. Police say that they have called for technical reports to ascertain the cause of the incident.
At 1:50 this morning, merrymaking at a nightclub on the 9th floor of a building at Navamawatha in Colombo 2 came to an abrupt halt as an elevator carrying 12 people plummeted to the basement, killing 1 person. Preliminary investigations reveal that the lift was making its way up to the nightclub when the malfunction occurred. A youth who attempted to jump out of the elevator while it was free-falling was caught in between the gap of the wall, resulting in his death. The victim was identified as 25-year-old Wesleyite and current CRNFC Ruggerite Kokila Samantha Peruma, who is a resident of Thalangama South in Battaramulla. The talented prop forward represented CRNFC in the Rugby League last week, playing against the Army.
The set piece has been troublesome. Umaka Gunratna breaks around the back.
Joel Perra asking for it, but unfortunately he did not receive it. And after that,
following the young Ruggerite's demise, message of condolences and praise flooded social media. Two persons who sustained injuries in the elevator mishap were admitted to the Colombo National Hospital. One, however, was discharged earlier in the day, with the other receiving further treatment for a leg injury. The remains of the young athlete will be brought to his residence in Thalangama South later on in the night. Slave Island police have called for technical reports to ascertain the cause of the malfunction in the lift, which will decide the future course of the investigation into the incident.
Although deaths and injuries related to elevators and escalators are rare, its safety cannot be overlooked. This means more buildings, more infrastructure and technology to assist the movement of people from one place to another in a more efficient manner. Speaking to First at 9, industry expert specializing in elevators and escalators, Engineer T.M. Zamiri said that constant prevention and maintenance for elevators is important to ensure the safety and security of users.
Home to the headquarters of several national and international banking and financial institutions, the city of Colombo is Sri Lanka's most prominent commercial office destination. According to an international real estate research group, currently the Colombo office market comprises nearly 1 million square feet of Grade A stock office buildings, witnessing 95% occupancy levels. Furthermore, currently over 3,000 units are under development for apartments that are due for completion by the end of next year. This requires high degree of safety in elevators and escalators, as well as continued maintenance to ensure the safety of its users on a day-to-day basis. Speaking to First at 9, an industry expert specializing in elevators and escalators, engineer T.M. Zamir highlighted the need for the management to always monitor maintenance elevators and noted that tenants too have a right to check the validity of the annual maintenance contract to ensure safety.
The major reasons for free falling of elevator are rope breaking or brake failure. And in case these two are failed, the third safety is to hold the elevator within the rail is called as speed governor. If the speed governor also fail, the lift can move down till the bottom. So in every preventive maintenance, we should check the rope, brake and the governor system, speed governor system, which can prevent from the free falling. Elevators are safe to use unless it is maintained poorly. And especially preventive maintenance system is very important for every elevators. And especially the door sensor, which may always make accident for the children, is very important for all the elevator.
Prime Minister Ranil engaged in a series of religious activities today, including paying homage to the Jayashree Mahabodhi in Anuradhapura.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe visited the sacred city in Anuradhapura this morning and paid homage to the Jayashree Mahabodhi, following which he called on Chief Incumbent of Atamasthana, Venerable Pallegama Sirinivasa Thera. The Prime Minister, who then arrived at the sacred grounds of Somavati Temple in Polunnaruwa, called on Chief Incumbent of the temple, Venerable Pahamune Sumangala Thera. He also made a Kapruk offering, following which the Premier gave alms to 50 members of the Buddhist clergy.
Leader of the opposition, Mahinda Rajapaksa, laments increased underworld activities, saying that it's got wide-ranging grip of things in the country. Responding to media following a religious event in Hungama today, the opposition leader also said infighting within the government over ministerial portfolios have put the government in trouble.
Leader of the opposition Mahinda Rajapaksa participated at a religious event held at the Sri Dharma Vijaya Bhikkhuni temple in Hungama today.
Yes, they are. They're fighting for ministerial portfolios. Not only the fishermen, but the entire country is unable to continue with their professions. There is no discipline in this country. The underworld is having a grip on everything. They kill people like dogs. In fact, not even dogs are killed in such a manner. The government is getting ready for elections, and it might be a presidential election. During the coming year, a provincial council election will be held and a parliamentary election should be held. We stress upon that. People who are afraid of elections out of fear of losing oppose elections.
Arsalan Khwaja, the brother of Australian cricketer Osman Pasha, who was originally arrested earlier this month for allegedly attempting to frame Sri Lankan student Mohammad Nizamdeen at the University of New South Wales with a fake terror plot, has had his bail revoked. Australian Broadcasting Corporation reports that a magistrate revoked the bail of Arsalan Khwaja after he was arrested for breaching his condition by attempting to influence a witness. The 39-year-old was rearrested yesterday afternoon and charged with attempting to influence a witness in judicial proceedings. New South Wales police originally detained Sri Lankan student Mohammad Nizamdeen over the alleged terror hit list, which was found in an office in the same building as the university's library earlier this year. ABC says that the allegations against Arsalan Khwaja was not that he intended to carry out a terror attack, but that he framed Nizamdeen. ABC adds that Arsalan Pasha was motivated to frame the Sri Lankan student by jealously over Nizamdeen's friendship with the woman and his success at the university. Terrorism charges were dropped against Nizamdeen in October. The number of people affected by the inclement weather in the north is on the rise. However, the flood seems to be receding, enabling people in some areas to return to their residences. Official data released by the Disaster Management Centre places the number of people affected at close to 124,000, belonging to over 40,000 families. Lorries with donated relief aid collected by our humanitarian initiative Derana headed for the northern province to help our fellow brothers and sisters in their hour of need.
Adverse weather conditions have been plaguing the lives of the people in the northern province for almost a week. In the Kilinochchi district alone, over 3,600 persons belonging to more than 1,100 families are provided shelter at 10 displacement camps. Meanwhile, over 800 persons belonging to more than 260 families in Mullaitivu are still being housed at 3 displacement camps.
The funds already been released for the compensation, and the assessment would be taken under the supervision of District Secretary. Under the National Insurance Trust Fund, the compensations could be provided to the people up to maximum of 2.5 million. Still 10,000, the basic advance being provided to that particular affected areas. From the cook meal to all the facilities and the relief being affected means that people are now not in the safe evacuation center. So the safe evacuation numbers are decreasing. The affected numbers are a little bit updating. So the affected means if the road is inundated, surrounding population are affected. But they are in their particular houses, they are doing normal activities in their house. So the affected numbers are a bit updating. Evacuation centers contains the evacuees. So that numbers, the exact numbers of people are not in the houses, they have been evacuated to safe evacuation centers. Those numbers are decreased.
Minister of Health, Nutrition and Indigenous Medicine Dr. Rajitha Senaratne visited the Kilinochchi district and distributed relief aid at the Murugananda College located in Kandavale.
I have never been a part of this. In fact, we were against the bloodshed and wars that happen in this country. I participated in a forum for district secretaries recently, and many shortcomings were mentioned during the forum, including dry rations, clothes and medicine. We brought 9 lorryfuls of relief items, and from it, 6 will be directed to Kilinochchi, while 3 will go to Mullaitivu. I'm glad that Derana is lending us a helping hand on issues concerning health, including prevention of kidney disease and cancer. As a channel in the south, your arrival in the north is important for the reconciliation and for drawing people's attention to problems these people face due to floods.
In the meantime, Team Derana also paid a visit to Pannakandi, which was also affected by floods.
மற்ற இராணுவம் தான் வந்து எங்களுக்கு சின்ன சின்ன உதவிகள் இந்த கிணறெல்லாம் குடிநீர் எல்லாம் இறைச்சி தந்திருக்கிறாங்க அவங்க தான் எங்களுக்கு உதவியாக இருக்குது மற்ற ஆடு மாடுகள் எல்லாம் அவங்க தான் காப்பாற்றி விட்டார் இராணுவம் வந்து தான் எங்களை கரையதுன்னு இவேல் தான் வந்து எங்கள் உயிரை காப்பாற்றினா இவேல் தான் வந்து.
Meanwhile, lorries containing relief aid donated by generous members of the public through our humanitarian initiative Derana left for north today. Relief items collected through Derana initiative will also be distributed among the affected people in Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu tomorrow.
Derana. You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
TNA parliamentarian M.S. Sumandiran heralds that a draft constitution will be brought before the Independence Day celebrations next year. Addressing journalists in Jaffna, TNA parliamentarian M.S. Sumandiran heralds that a draft constitution will be brought before the Independence Day celebrations next year. Addressing journalists in Jaffna, the parliamentarian went on to say that around 20 members of the SFP are ready to cross over to the government, which will enable smooth sailing and express hope the move would lead the president to declare a national government.
If the rule of law diminishes, it's the Tamil community who will feel its effects first. So we should not allow it to happen at any cost or at any point in time. If the constitution is violated, the decision which follows will not be valid. Despite the constitution clearly stating that the parliament cannot be dissolved unless the mentioned requirements are met, the president dissolved it. Same happened in the case of ousting the prime minister. If measures are not taken to prevent such things from happening, the decisions which will follow will also be disregarded and we won't be able to do anything about it. So we are engaged in preparing a new constitution. We hope to, in fact, bring a draft constitution before the 4th of February, prepared together with the UNP JVP and us. 20-odd people from the SLFP are asking to cross over to the government. Some have already joined, despite objections from the president. We hope that the remaining members will also join within this month. If that happens, we believe that the president will take steps towards declaring us a national government. If it happens, our votes, together with the JVP, will exceed 150. We will work until we make the new constitution a reality.
China's General Administration of Customs says that the country will begin allowing rice imports from the United States starting this week. It said the varieties of brown, polished and crushed rice are now permitted. Only if categories are registered with the US Department of Agriculture and meet China's inspection standards and quarantine requirements. China first began importing rice from the US in the summer of last year before trade relations between the world's two largest economies worsened until the start of December. According to data providers, world top exports as the world's biggest consumers of the grain, China imported some $1.8 billion worth of rice last year. China had previously banned US rice imports owing to the absence of agricultural quarantine inspection agreements. The world's biggest banks are reckoning on a rebound in oil price next year as fears of a recession proved misplaced. A Bloomberg survey of oil analysts forecasts the Brent benchmark to average $70 a barrel next year, almost a third higher than its price the day before yesterday. Futures in London and New York plunged this quarter, with volatility soaring in the final week as crude track gyrations in equity markets. Despite plans by the OPEC and its allies to limit production next year to prevent a glut from forming, oil's fortunes have increasingly been driven by moves in financial assets and concerns about the global economy. However, analysts expect that markets are about to tighten as growth stays strong, OPEC supply cuts kick in and unintended losses in Venezuela and Iran escalate. Michael Cohen, head of energy and commodities research at Barclays in New York, says something similar to a V-shaped recovery could be seen next year on two very important conditions. First being that the reduction in OPEC exports leading to a reduction in inventories, while the second being that a further deterioration in macroeconomic conditions not being seen. Radar satellite imagery is helping scientists ascertain the size of the section from the Indonesian volcano which collapsed, causing a tsunami in the Sunda Strait. The Center of Volcanology and Geographical Hazard Mitigation says that in terms of volume, 150 to 170 million cubic meters of material has gone, leaving only 40 to 70 million cubic meters still in place. Now, the death toll from the tragedy stands at well over 400, while some 40,000 persons are displaced.
The scale of the dramatic collapse of the Indonesian volcano that led to last Saturday's devastating tsunami in the Sunda Strait is becoming clear. Researchers have examined satellite images of Anak Krakatau to calculate the amount of rock and ash that sheared off into the sea. They say the volcano has lost more than two-thirds of its height and volume during the past week. Much of this missing mass would have slid into the sea in one movement. It would certainly explain the displacement of water and the generation of waves up to 5 meters high that then inundated the nearby coastlines of Java and Sumatra. Indonesia's disaster agency says more than 400 people are confirmed dead, with 20 or so still missing. In excess of 40,000 have been displaced. The Center of Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation has been studying pictures from a number of radar satellites. Radar has the advantage of being able to see the ground day or night and to be able to pierce cloud. The capability has allowed some initial measurements to be made of Anak Krakatau's lost stature, in particular on its western side. The Center of Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation says what was once a volcanic cone standing some 340 meters high is now just 110 meters tall. In terms of volume, 150 to 170 million cubic meters of material has gone, leaving only 40 to 70 million cubic meters still in place.
US President Donald Trump has threatened to shut down the border with Mexico over illegal immigration if Congress fails to fund his proposed wall. After nearly a week of deadlock in Washington over the federal budget, Trump tweeted, "Either we build a wall or we close the border." Confirming the threat to close the border was real, the White House said negotiations with Congress had stalled.
As the US government shutdown stretched into its 7th day with no end in sight, US President Donald Trump signaled yesterday that he had not wavered in his demand that Congress pass the budget with funding to help pay for a wall between the US-Mexico border. The federal government has been shut down since last week, triggered by Trump's demand, largely opposed by Democrats and some lawmakers from his own Republican Party, that taxpayers provide him with $5 billion to help pay for the wall. Its total estimated cost is $23 billion. The House has approved a shutdown-ending spending measure that includes Trump's demand for $5 billion, but its prospects in the Senate are seen as poor. Trump argues that his wall is needed to stem illegal immigration and drugs entering the country, a key plank in his 2016 presidential campaign. Earlier this month, he said he would be proud to shut down the government over wall funding. On Twitter, since the shutdown started, he has tried to blame the Democrats.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Other Derana 24/7.
Let's now take a look at your city-by-city forecast. Time for you to get the latest from the world of entertainment with our segment 70 Seconds of Entertainment.
The Recording Academy announced on Thursday that Celine Dion, Kelly Clarkson, Jennifer Hudson and John Legend will be among a host of singers to perform at a tribute concert for the late Aretha Franklin, which is to be hosted by filmmaker Tyler Perry on the 13th of January in Los Angeles. Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly are reunited in the R-rated Sherlock spoof Holmes and Watson. The comedy film sees them take on the iconic roles of the literary pair as they use their brilliant minds to stop rival Professor James Moriarty, played by Ray Fiennes, from assassinating Queen Victoria. Showing strong staying power, the second frame of Aquaman is dominating North American moviegoing with about $53 million in the final weekend of 2018. The Warner Brothers tentpole starring Jason Momoa took in $137 million domestically at 4,125 locations in its first week. The movie, which opened in many international markets prior to the US launch, has reeled in $492.2 million overseas, with more than half of that coming from China.
With that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.